Hello everyone, and welcome to our podcast, where we talk about simple ways to improve your English. I'm your host, Avie, and today we are going to discuss some useful tips for learning English. Many students study English for years, but they still feel nervous when speaking. Today, we will talk about how to improve speaking skills, learn vocabulary every day, avoid common grammar mistakes, and even how to start thinking in English. I'm very happy to have a guest with me today. Hello, Lily. Welcome to the podcast.
Tolo. Hello, Avie. Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to talk about this topic because learning English can sometimes be difficult. But with the right strategies, it can also be fun and rewarding.
That's absolutely true. So let's start with our first topic. How to improve speaking skills. Many learners say that speaking is the hardest skill in English. They understand grammar and vocabulary, but when they try to speak, they feel shy or afraid of making mistakes. Lily, why do you think this happens?
I think the main reason is fear. Many students worry about making mistakes or being judged by others. But the truth is that mistakes are a normal part of learning. Even native speakers make mistakes sometimes.
That's a very good point. So what can students do to improve their speaking skills?
First, they need to practice speaking every day. Even if you don't have a partner, you can talk to yourself. For example, describe your day, talk about what you see around you, or explain your plans for tomorrow.
That's a great idea. Students can also record themselves speaking. When they listen to the recording, they can notice their pronunciation and improve it.
Exact. Another helpful tip is to find a speaking partner. This could be a friend, a teacher, or even someone online who is also learning English.
Yes. Communication is very important. The more you speak, the more confident you become. Now let's move to our second topic. Learning vocabulary every day. Vocabulary is the foundation of any language. Without words, it is impossible to communicate clearly.
That's right.
One effective method is to learn a few words every day instead of many words at once. For example, learning 5 new words every day is much better than learning 50 words once a week.
I completely agree. Another useful technique is to learn vocabulary in context. Instead of memorizing a single word, try to learn it in a sentence.
For example, instead of just learning the word improve, you could learn the sentence, I want to improve my English speaking skills.
That makes it easier to remember and also helps learners understand how to use the word naturally.
Students should review vocabulary regularly. Repetition helps our brains remember information.
Yes, practice and repetition are key to building a strong vocabulary. Now, let's talk about common grammar mistakes. Many English learners worry a lot about grammar. Sometimes they feel that their grammar must be perfect before they speak. Yes, I hear that very often. But actually, communication is more important than perfection. If your grammar is not perfect, but people understand you, communication is successful.
Exactly. However, it is still useful to be aware of some common mistakes. For example, many learners forget to use the third person S.
Yes, sentences like she work in an office should be she works in an office. Another common mistake is confusing present tense and past tense.
For instance, a student might say, yesterday I go to the market. Instead of yesterday, I went to the market. Boo. The best way to improve grammar is through practice and exposure. Reading books, listening to podcasts, and watching English videos can help learners see correct grammar naturally.
Now we come to a very interesting topic. Thinking in English. Many students translate from their native language into English, and this can make speaking slower and more difficult.
Jets. Translating in your head takes time. If you want to speak fluently, it helps to train your mind to think directly in English.
So, how can learners start thinking in English?
1. Simple way is to describe everyday activities in English. For example, when you are cooking, you can think, I am cutting vegetables, or I am making dinner.
That's a very practical idea. Another method is to keep a small journal and write a few sentences in English every day.
Jets. Writing helps organize your thoughts and makes it easier to express ideas in English. / over time. Thinking in English will become more natural and automatic.
Today, we discussed several useful tips for learning English, practicing speaking every day, learning vocabulary regularly, understanding common grammar mistakes, and training yourself to think in English.
Learning. A language is a journey. It takes time, patience, and practice. But if you stay motivated and continue learning, you will definitely see improvement.
That's great advice. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lily.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And thank you to all our listeners for joining us. Keep practicing, stay curious, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. See you in the next episode.